One of the most exciting forms of motorsports on the planet is rock crawling / rock racing. These guys have really taken the original form of the motorsport and raised it to a new excitement level. Side-by-side action, fast buggies that are capable of going over some of the most tough terrain you'll find anywhere on the planet. All of it's coming up next. Hold on, because we're going to air this thing out. Ultra 4 Endurance brings the action to the Badlands.
Got it tacked up, and if you get too close, you're getting cracked up. Stone cold when I roll, coming out of the hole. Get back, cause I'm out of control.
All the action is going down at the Badlands Off-Road Park in Attica, Indiana, just about an hour outside of Indianapolis, Indiana. It's the Ultra 4 Endurance Race presented by Lucas Oil Products. Ken Stout and Brian Olson here to call all the action for you. This place is a lot of fun to come out on a normal weekend with the families and have some fun, but this particular weekend, it's all about a qualifying round for the prestigious King of Hammers event that will take place later on this year. Let's get it down to David Hamilton.
Well, right now, these drivers and co-drivers are standing around chit-chatting, but in just a few moments, these guys are going to be tackling a course full of various different obstacles. In some portions, they'll be doing up to 85 miles per hour, laying the throttle to the floor. In others, they'll only be doing about 5 miles per hour as they crawl over some rocks. So whoever can navigate this course the best will probably be our winner here today in Attica.
Well, thank you very much, David. We'll see a little bit more of David throughout the course of the event. The Ultra 4 Endurance will start out Grand Prix style. And for those of you who are unaware, well, we'll keep you updated on that as we go along. It's side by side every 30 seconds. They leave the starting line here. So every 30 seconds you'll see a pair. And as we mentioned earlier, you'll go fast and you'll go slow. It's a 2-hour timed event. And at the end of that 2 hours, we will declare a winner if you've got the most laps during that 2-hour time period.
Absolutely right. We take a look at our driver entry list as well, and you're right. I mean, it's all about speed now. Before, it was technical in rock crawling days earlier on. But now, speed is a huge part of it. So the most laps you can complete in it, if everybody's on the same number of laps, then of course you need to have the best time on that particular final lap. There's a look at the course they'll run here today, and if you're thinking to yourself, man, that's crazy, well, you're right.
Yeah, if you've never been to Attica, Indiana, to the Badlands, you got to put it on your bucket list. Put it on any kind of list. But the Badlands are really, really, really up on the coulometer because it is so different throughout the whole course. It's unreal. It's a great, great spectator event.
I always appreciated the vehicles before when they were rock crawlers, but what they do with them now is even more exciting. As you can see, plenty of horsepower inside of this category. You'll also see, much like the desert competitors, maybe their big brothers, if you will, that they'll carry a number of spares with them.
Whoa!
Bill Baird goes for an endo, and
man.
I've got to tell you, at first when we were watching this, we thought he was going to pull out of it, but as you can see there, unfortunately, a disastrous end. Endoed here, and it rolled completely over, not unlike some of the toys that you can buy. It was amazing to watch, but he was not able to correct and stay out of the trees here. Another look at it, really a very scary incident, but these cars are very safe now as well.
You got to remember that that thing was probably doing every bit of what, 90 mile an hour right there, Ken? Maybe 80 as he went over that thing. And the only tree in the area was the one he caught. Unreal.
Yeah, and the tough situation whenever you fly a car like that is you really need to be on the throttle when you go off. And that particular launch doesn't have a real big jump to it. It just kind of drops away, so it tends to make the front end sink. We go on board and watch a couple of these guys. You can see the towels there in hand to try and keep it clean, and a couple of the competitors as well checking on their friend.
They want to make sure he's okay because when you get out in there, there's not a lot of help available. And we watch Ben Dinkins. The other thing I want to mention, if you get behind one of these vehicles that's spitting up a lot of that sand and a lot of that dust, that's what we saw the drivers doing just a moment ago, keeping those visors clean, probably using the tear-offs as well.
Derek West, always a solid competitor anytime you get out here. And, you know, there's a good point of what you were talking about there. Peterson and Dickinson going at it. And the way around to the outside, you've got to get out of that roost. You got to get out of that dust bowl because it is very difficult to see. In fact, visibility can go down to zero.
And for more reason than one, and most of these drivers do have the onboard breathing systems where they got some air coming to them, but a handful of them do not. And for those that do not, I don't know if you've ever eaten sand when you was a kid. I did because I was little. But, you know, they're not above having to do that as well.
Derek West, our current leader, once again now negotiating the trails here at the Badlands through the trees. And this is where it gets tricky. And this is also where your co-driver comes into play. They'll go out there and you can see the winch cable coming across. You know, and this was a points deduction back in the rock crawling days, but now it's just a time deduction. They don't have to worry about points anymore. You're losing valuable time if you have to do this.
Yeah, you don't want this to be a part of your deal. And at the end of the day, especially when you did not have that thing all the way out, you got to let the winch out a little bit more. It's just taking a lot of time. Man, that's a tough way to go.
Wicked spill out there. Just walk us through what happened.
Well, you know, I took the lead right off the back go and got up on the first sand dune and hit my mark. And when I come over, I lost the second mark just a little bit, and I picked it up and I crossed back across. But whenever I did, I crossed on the right side of the arrow, and I was holding butt. And whenever I come over to the top of the sand dune, I thought it was flat on top. There wasn't no other side to it. And then went down about 50 feet and endoed it, and then it landed on the back and endoed again, and somehow wound up in a tree. I ain't figured that out yet. And yeah, that's just driver mistake out here today, and I'm learning from it.
And of course, the good news is he's in great spirits and he's okay. All right, let's get back to the action here. Using a winch to help get up over some of the tough terrain here, Jeremy Dickinson finally negotiates that very tough climb.
Well, Jeremy Dickinson's machine was behind Clay Gilstrap, had to do a little bit of towing himself using the winch. Now goes around Clay as they continue to wait and try to winch their machine out.
Tough territory. All right, we'll be back with more from the Ultra 4 Endurance.
This Lucas Oil On the Edge telecast is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, anywhere is possible. ReadyLift.com. Don't just lift it, ready lift it.
Welcome back to the Badlands here in Attica, Indiana for the Lucas Oil Ultra 4 Endurance as we watch our competitors go at it here. Derek West doing a great job out front. They'll negotiate through the sand, through the water, up over the rocks, through the trees. And there's a look at your leading time.
After lap number 1, you can see the quicker machines, like Derek West, at 22 minutes. There's the stop at the checkpoint. Again, you'll run 2 hours for the overall event, and whoever the lap leader is at that time will be the winner for the day. And there is your current leader, Derek West.
We had a chance to speak with Derek West a little bit earlier today. David Hamilton got over to his pits.
Seems every time we have an Ultra 4 race on OTE, we run into Derek West, and it seems every time we see Derek West, Derek's laying the throttle down. Derek, this weekend we're here in Attica. Tell us a little bit about this track and what you like about it.
Well, I've came here several times. We've actually been doing rock crawling. This is our first time doing the actual racing portion of it. So the woods are very tight and technical. There's sand, there's mud, a lot of fast whoop section, and then we get over to the rocks where we've done the rock crawling before. So that I'm comfortable with and familiar with. Done some pre-running out there, so I think we've got the course down and know what to do.
And showing that he does have the course down. It's so critical if you can get out here and at least get yourself familiar with the terrain, get yourself set up mentally on how you're going to approach this track.
Yeah, no question about it. When you're out there and you're doing the rock crawling portion on any one of the facilities that we happen to go to here with Lucas Oil On the Edge, it's a complete different world. Your machines are pretty much the same, but they have a few more chassis components they might change around for the rock crawling portion, if you will. But these babies right here, as he mentioned, water, sand, it's all over the place. Grass, you name it.
Mike Colville, a solid player out here. We saw Ben Dinkins before, Derek West, all of these on the same lap as we speak right now, and all of them contenders here for the win. We also saw Derek West with his face mask open, Kind of surprised about that, especially going through the water. Something splashes up, gets in your eyes, but it can end the event for you.
Yeah, no question about that. But again, at the end of the day, but in his case, he's leading the event, so he pretty much do what he wants because he's not got a big pile of sand, you know, with a vehicle right directly in front of him. So definitely, here is Dinkins and Colville currently running that second and third spot. And this really is a big-time battle for position in the toughest part of the course.
Chicky Barton with a huge wheel stand kind of gets in the back of this log jam. And, yeah, that was for a position between Colville and Dinkins. And I've got to tell you, you could see that they wanted the co-driver to get back in there quickly, but he had already run over the cable, so it was kind of a tough situation there. Some great racing action taking place here at the Lucas Oil Ultra 4 Endurance, held at the Badlands in Attica, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. Working on lap number 3 here on this 2-hour timed event. Colville and Shipman, your leaders. Dinkins right there in the hunt with Colville a little bit earlier, and Chicky Barton putting on a show for everybody, along with Derek West.
Speaking of Derek West, who was the leader in lap 1 and 2, is now some 2 minutes behind, and I'm not sure exactly what went awry, but he's back to 5th, and problems here for Chicky Barton as well.
Yeah, we saw Chicky just before we went to break, did that huge wheel stand up and over the climb, now climbing back in to get started once again. So kind of a strange scenario there. Needs to suit up again, helmet back on, strap in, and get restarted.
And there is Derek West, and he's making a comeback here, whether he had a flat tire, whether he got into the rock crawling section, whatever the reason, back in that 5th spot.
Yeah, we see the spare on the back of the unit yet, so possibly not a flat. All right, the ready lift onboard shot there as well, and again, just standing on the throttle there, digging up and over goes Mike Colville, our current leader, and then down the other side. Such a sketchy feeling when you dip the nose off, and you can see him carrying the back tires just a little bit as well.
I've said it in the old days when we did our rock crawling shows, you're going to take that thing one way or the other. Either super slow or mat that throttle and hope you don't go over backwards.
Eric Miller a little bit earlier there in that shot. Keep in mind, a former winner of King of Hammers just a year ago, the reigning champ from 2012.
Chicky Barton gets back on board his machine. Saw him earlier out of the machine looking at parts in the front end, and his crew said, go, let's go. They ain't gonna get any better. Uh-oh.
Doug Bigelow right there. I was just going to tell you to take a look at the header setup there. You can see that the header is actually constructed up and over the top of the power plant to create more clearance underneath the vehicle. Unfortunately here, it looks like he might have lost power and rolls backwards.
Yeah, tough break right there as Jesse Haynes makes his way through the section here.
Once again, Eric Miller. Eric Miller currently in 7th, and we had a chance to speak to the 2012 King of Hammers champ a little bit earlier today.
A lot of the guys that race Ultra 4s around the country are West Coast guys, but Eric Miller here, he's from Cumberland, Maryland, and we're in the Midwest. We got an East Coast guy, Midwest track. What's it going to take to get the win here today?
Today's going to be a brutal race. And these cars, you know, we set up differently per what track we're running, so we have this thing set up a little different for the woods. So it's going to corner a little more level, you know, to stay flat. So I mean, the biggest thing is the dust in the night. You know, if we get a little rain here, you know, it'll help because we can see. But I mean, really, I'm counting on my co-driver. You know, you have the course plotted in your GPS, and you got to rely on that and trust your co-driver.
Navigation is a huge part of everything that goes on out here in this style of racing. Lap 4, and the clock is ticking.
Clock is ticking, and your Good Samaritan Award there giving Gilstrap a tow. As we look at the ready lift suspension, top 10, Colville, West, Dinkins, Sweet, and Barton, all on the same lap, and all with an opportunity to win this event.
Mike Colville has been leading here for the last couple of laps, having a great run here, and now negotiating those trees. You can see the bark missing on some of those trees. It didn't just fall off by accident either.
No, I don't think the deer did it either.
Yeah, no, they can beat these things up here pretty good. Derek West now trying to scratch his way back up into the standings here after a decent lap.
Eric Miller and Stan Haynes, you can tell right now as you take a look at these things how muddy and or dusty they get once you go through the wet part of the course and you go through the dry sandy part of the course. And again, it's a pretty much a wild deal. Whoa, baby. I thought that was going over.
Yeah, and you know, that's actually a good point because we saw him roll over that before and did not high center. Here he high centered just a little bit, so the track is also being eaten away by the competitors doing stuff just like this. So every time you come around, it's a little bit different than it was the time before.
That's exactly right. As you see Derek West, he handled that spot. And again, this is that area, as we watched Sean Fisher's machine. It's a standardized Jeep, shorter wheelbase machine, and that suspension is broke on the right rear.
Yeah, absolutely. And also another thing to look at there, the rocks themselves, shiny, black, a little bit of rubber on them. They start getting polished, and they don't have the grip that they had early on.
We love to hear from our fans. Go to www.facebook.com and become a fan of Lucas Oil on the Edge. Join our OTE private group or like our page. Then post your comments about this Lucas Oil on the Edge episode.
We've been making some dust out here at the Badlands, courtesy of the Lucas Oil Ultra 4 Endurance. Watch what happened to Bill Baird earlier in this event. Hard on the gas, thought he was on a level, and unfortunately the ground fell away. He went for a violent roll and ended up in the trees. Good news, Bill Baird is A-OK. Will live to race another day.
Wow, and that was a beautiful machine as well for Baird, but like you said, he was able to walk away, and we talked to him a little bit earlier. All right, after lap number 4, it's still Colville, West, Dinkins, Barton, and Sweet, and the difference between the 5, some 14 minutes.
Let's get it down to David with more on the action here. Derek West is catching up.
Well, there's our leader, guys. Mike Colville with 4 complete laps. Let's see if he can hold on and get the checkered flag here tonight.
Yeah, about 35 minutes left in this 2-hour timed event. And Derek West, who was leading the first couple of laps, fell down about 2 minutes and now has scratched his way back in the last couple of laps and then back up to second place. I mean, he was down to about 5th or 6th place.
Yeah, he definitely was, man, running 5th and 6th, and he has made up some time. Again, 2 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but when you are going through a course like this where anything can happen, you can also get held up by a back marker. That is a good job right there as West has made up some time.
You can also see the lights are on as the sun starts to set here in western Indiana. And then when you get in the trees as well, that heavy foliage, it's even darker yet.
Yeah, start this thing kind of in the early evening hours, and then it takes place after dark. And as you mentioned, dark or no dark, when you get in those trees, all you can see is those bright orange arrows.
All right, back out here where it's a bit brighter. Again, Mike Colville starting to feel the pressure. And this is the second time he's taken it easy over this section. Last time he nearly high-centered. This time it could cost him the lead.
Oh, and that's exactly what happened. And you mentioned it earlier. And boom, there it is. He does all the right things and gets out of that deal. Eric Miller's going to make some time up here.
Yeah, you know, we saw Colville earlier. I mean, he sailed over that section, carried the rear tires, and ever since then, he's slowed down just a little bit. We'll wrap this thing up when we come back in the Ultra 4 Endurance.
This Lucas Oil On the Edge telecast has been brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, made in America, sold to the world. General Tire, anywhere is possible. ReadyLift.com. Don't just lift it, ready lift it.
All right, the sun is setting here at the Badlands Off-Road Park. During the Lucas Oil Ultra 4 Endurance event, Colville out front. Derek West making tracks to try and catch him. Dinkins and Barton round out your top 4. And we'll get it down to David Hamilton for an update.
There's your current leader, Mike Colville, as he comes across preparing for his final lap. We'll see if he can hold on and get the victory here tonight in Attica.
White flag is waving, final lap here, so it looks like a couple of competitors will go after lap number 6.
That's what you want to see, is you want to see that white flag, and it's a grueling deal. I mean, throughout the course of a couple hours, doesn't seem like a lot, but when you take yourself over this course, through the mud, through the trees, through the rocks, it's tough on your body. I don't care what anybody says. Let's get down and talk with David again.
And there's Derek West starting his final lap, about 5 minutes behind our current leader, Mike Colville. We'll see if Derek can catch up here on the final lap.
And keep in mind, part of the rules are you have to be careful when you're coming into that checkpoint. That's why those guys aren't standing on the gas. Always a flag man there that checks you off and sends you on your next lap. Derek Wesso currently in second place. He is on the gas now and making some dust.
Yeah, without question, though, I got to tell you, unless Colville makes a major mistake, 5 minutes in an average, what do you think, 25-minute span is really hard to make up. As Chicky Barton makes a move right there around Jeremy Dickinson in the flat ground there, heading for the hill.
And you've got to think that Chicky had a real shot at this thing had he not had to get out of the buggy there for a little bit. Chicky Barton standing on the gas all day long, definitely putting on a show. And also keep in mind, you see him go sailing by, there's a number of competitors out here that have some bent suspension underneath the car, so they're trying to hang on and survive the event.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. You know, you want to get there at the end, you want to be there, and you know the old saying, you got to be in it to win it, or whatever the case might be. But at the end of the day, this truly has been a race of attrition as we watch Eric Miller's machine, a past 2012 champion, and that's unusual for him to be in the 6th spot.
Yeah, he's standing on the gas. That thing crossed up sideways, and here goes Colville once again. Now this time a much better job here. And laps 4 and 5 struggled here. 5 really struggled here, losing some precious time. But on lap 6, slides it right on over.
Yeah, did a fabulous job right there. I mean, he took that thing down to whatever the point of mile per hour really was. West, again, is in 3rd, and Dinkins now in the 2nd spot. So Dinkins somehow has gotten around West at some point in time.
And I've got to tell you, it's kind of an illusion, if you will. Our cameras bring in so much light that it can really lead you to believe that it's brighter out here than it is. But when they're in the woods, it is pitch black as the checkered flag waves and our winner comes across. Congrats to Mike Colville.
Mike Colville, our winner here tonight, you got to be pleased with the performance.
Oh yeah, the truck worked great. We run Lucas Oil Products and they worked great. Pack Racing Springs, phenomenal. This is our first win here in a big race. We run a local series and do pretty good, but we're pretty proud. All of our sponsors, Warren, Brannick, you name them. BTR Wheels, All-Star, good car, ran a good race today, good clean, no flip overs, no flats, it was good.
The only thing that wasn't clean ended up being that face. Colville, Dinkins, West, and Barton, your top 4. The top 3 finished on the same lap, and that was 6th. Chicky and John Sweet in the 4th and 5th spots there.
Hope everybody had a great time watching the action coming from the Badlands in Attica, Indiana for the Ultra 4 Endurance. Bill Baird will be back to race another day. Remember, you're not living unless you're on the edge.